who are already here, but you're taking fire from the right because you oppose the E-Verify system, which would make it easier for employers to check whether their workers are in fact legal or illegal. Why would you oppose that?
Well, that's not the main part of my plan. The main part of my plan is Verify that says we have to have border security. Conservatives have always wanted border security before we had immigration reform. The amendment that I will add to the bipartisan plan will ensure that there is border security and that Congress gets to vote on that border security every year in order for it to go forward. With regard to E-Verify, it's not that I'm opposed to some sort of database check. For example, when you come into the country, I think the country should do a background check on you to find out if you're a felon or if there's a problem. I also think that those who come in and get a work visa should be in a database, and that when someone applies for welfare, it should be mandatory that they look at that database to make sure you're not here on a work visa, which means you're not eligible to vote and you're not eligible to get welfare. So I'm not against any kind of checking. I just would prefer the government to be the policeman and not the businessman. It's kind of where it happens, whether it happens and the businessmen have a lot more expenses to do this, or whether the government should do it.
Yeah, let's talk about your idea, which is very important to you, that it should be Congress. According to the Gang of Eight plan, it would be governors and a commission. They would decide whether or not the border is secure. You want Congress to get into this, and there are some Republicans who say you're setting up the GOP for a fall because it'll be a vote in Congress, it'll be very political. A lot of Republicans will say, well, gee, we're not satisfied with border security, and that'll only increase their sense of separation from Hispanic voters.
I would argue the opposite. I would argue that you're only going to get the conservatives, particularly a Republican House, to pass immigration reform if we as conservatives are reassured that the border is controlled and that we get to vote on whether the border is controlled. We have not believed in the past that the promises came true. In 1986, when we normalized folks, they said, oh, you'll get border security, and a lot of us feel like it never happened. That has soured the debate for 20-some-odd years now. So the only way you get this forward, I think my Trust but Verify actually will bring the House along. No immigration reform is going to happen unless in the House sign on to it, and I don't think they'll sign on to it unless you get something like what I'm talking about, and it would include governors as well, would include Border Patrol, Investigator General, and it would have a matrix of things such as how many people are being captured, how many people with felons are being turned away, that kind of thing, and then Congress would vote on it. The main reason I don't want the president just to stamp it is I don't really trust any president, Republican or Democrat, to do a good enough job to say the border is really secure. Every representative should get to vote on that.